Thank you so much, Pete. That was the most beautiful introduction. I think I want you to follow me around my entire life and just introduce me as I enter the room. That'd be amazing. And so, yeah, thank you so much. It's so lovely to be here. Now, what I really want to talk about, obviously about self-love. I'm not going to get all airy-fairy and woo-woo on you as much as I love woo-woo. I want to get really, really down and dirty and practical. But first, what I want to ask the room, which is why I want to see your faces, is hands up, who here respects themselves? Put your hand up if you respect yourself. What have we got? Brilliant. So I'm fair to say that everyone in this room respects themselves. Is that fair? Okay, this is good. This is going to be easy then. Okay, so I have some slides for you, but before I share those, I want to just be very clear that I am not going to go, I think everyone should fill their cups first before you fill anyone else's. And I'm not going to tell you that self-care is not selfish, because I'll be honest with you, self-care is a little bit selfish. And I'm all for that. I think it's very, very easy to invest in self-care and be selfish without hurting anyone. And it's okay to be selfish sometimes. And so I'm not going to use any of that airy-fairy and waste your time. But instead, what I really want to bring home before we talk about this is that self-care and your self-worth are so intrinsically linked that if you do not love yourself, if you do not care for yourself, then you do not respect yourself. There's no possible way you can respect yourself and show worth for yourself if you do not invest in yourself. Like, they come hand in hand, and I will show you this as we go through, because I'm going to think of self-love and self-care not necessarily from the traditional sense of, you know, meditate every day and make sure you I don't know, stroke your hair and whatever, but I'm not going to go from that kind of sense. I'm going to go from how you treat yourself on a daily basis, how you speak to yourself, what kind of behaviors and actions that you have that either show you that you value yourself or you don't. And that's where I'm going to go for today. And one of the things that I invite you to do as well, if the word self-love and self-care are not for you and don't resonate with you and they feel too much just bit airy-fairy, what I invite you to do is try and reframe it. Think of self-care and self-love as something that resonates with you. So whether it's, I say I value myself, or I say I respect myself. And so everything I do every day is done because I respect myself. And so that's why I invite you to think of what resonates with you and reframe it to suit you. And what I'll do as well before I start is I want to phrase it in a slightly different way to really get you thinking. So Pete, I want you to walk with me in this story for a little bit. So imagine, right, in this, so anyone who has pets, children, come with me on this. If, for example, Sarah was away, so she was on a spa holiday, loving herself. Yeah, go on, Sarah. And you were at home, you had a really busy, packed out day, you had meetings, you had all this stuff going on, and Max was there, you'd fed him breakfast, maybe a little bit of food, and someone said to you, you're still busy, you can't go to a meeting, you can't go and feed Max, you've got to go to a meeting. Max will be fine, he's had breakfast, he'll eat later at dinner, you know, just, you've got too much to do, you can't feed him. How would you feel about that?
Oh, it caused me quite a bit of angst, I would imagine.
I should hope so. Yeah, it's, you know, if someone said to you, sorry mate, you can't feed your child right now, you're too busy, you know, I would imagine a lot of people would be like, that's non-negotiable, like, I'm feeding my child, you can wait. Like, if someone told me that my son would have to wait for food because I was too busy, I would feel horrendous. But if you spin that around, and for everyone on this call, how many times have you missed lunch or missed something for yourself? Like, oh, I haven't eaten all day because I'm so busy. Like, how many times do we do that? Kelly's like, not a chance. Well done, Kelly.
Make them wait.
But that's what our approach should be. But instead, we run off to the next thing and we pass over food. We pass over all the things but someone else we love would be non-negotiable. And so I want to invite you to think of your self-care, your self-love, your self-respect as a non-negotiable action. It's non-negotiable behavior that nothing comes above it. And so I want to just leave that in the room. And then I'm going to show you a couple of things on the slides. So feel free to stop me, ask me any questions, and shout at me along the way as well. Okay, can you see my slides? Thunderbra. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Okay, have a little look at this here. And I want you to think about, do you resonate with any of these? Now, these little honeycomb things are signs that you potentially don't love yourself, don't value yourself, don't respect yourself. And I'll go through a few of them. So I'll start on the left. So others make you doubt yourself. So from a business point of view, you know, say, for example, things are a bit hard in your business, or people, you know, you believe in something and someone starts challenging that. Maybe someone goes, do you think maybe you should just go and get a job? It's a bit tough in your business at the moment. And you can start going, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't do this. You know, how easy do you doubt yourself with a little bit of challenge from other people? Obviously, you don't look after your health. That's mental and physical. That's obvious. Now you grow from a place of lack. So we've all probably heard of imposter syndrome before. You know, a lot of growth these days across all businesses, CEOs everywhere, a lot of growth comes from a place of lack. I am growing, I need to get better because I'm not good enough. I need to do this because I'm not powerful enough, I'm not rich enough. Growing from a place of lack shows a very low level of self-worth. And when you grow from a place of lack, you build upon very rocky foundations. The foundations that you have are so unstable that, you know, as you keep going, you can't stop, because you think, if I stop, all the success is going to go away. I can't stop for a weekend. I can't, you know, I'm going to have to work this hard. I'm going to have to do this, because it's all from a place of lack. Now, you question your prices is always a good one. Like how many people go up at the end of their sentence when they quote themselves? £350 a day? What do you think? Anybody? You know, do you say, oh, it's £350 a day? Full stop. Or do you go 350? You know, think about how you talk when you say your prices. You know, how do you feel? Like, do you feel that you're just kind of throw it out there just in case, or do you actually feel that that's what I'm worth? Obviously, self-critique, we'll look at that in a moment as well. Judging others is an interesting one, because people don't often reflect upon that being part of who you are. But remember, when you judge others, it's not a reflection of them, it's a reflection of you. And so you find a lot of people who are operating from a space of low self-worth, low self-love, are so much more critical of others, because they don't feel enough. They feel that they have to put other people down to make themselves feel better. When you operate from a place of self-assurance, self-love, self-worth, you are raving fans of other people. Like, you want to cheerlead other people. That is a really, really big thing. Obviously, dislike being alone. There's a lot of people who cannot be alone. They cannot be in silence. They cannot sit with their emotions. They cannot sit with themselves. And COVID really, really brought that out in a lot of people. The isolation and being alone for many people was absolutely distressing. And so that's a huge one. Trusting yourself is another part of confidence. So confidence is a really interesting one, because when you have confidence, that I always see confidence from two angles. You have confidence in your skills, and then you have confidence in yourself. And the difference is, say you start a new role, or you get a new client in maybe in an area that you haven't explored before. You might not have confidence in your skills yet because you haven't done this before, but you have confidence in yourself that you will find a way to make it work. You know, those business owners out there that their client will come to you, and everyone's probably had that of, can you do this? And you're like, never done that before, but yes, absolutely, I can do that. And you're like, I'm going to say yes and work it out along the way, because you have trust in yourself that you will navigate it and you will find a way through. And that is the backbone of resilience. If you know that no matter what, you can work your way through something, you can find your way out of a hole, then that is a huge sign that you value and find yourself worthy. Obviously, prioritizing others, I won't play on that, because that's a massive thing when we always put ourselves last. Do you say yes when you really mean no? How often do we do that? Especially around spending time with people that we don't necessarily want to spend time with as well. Clients that you don't necessarily want, but maybe you're acting from a place of fear of not having enough. People's criticisms bring you down. Now, that is a huge one, because naturally, if someone turns around, you know, Sarah, if you turn around to me today and you said, I don't like you, I think you're shady, you know, naturally that's gonna impact me, right? I'm gonna be like, oh, but but I will very quickly recalibrate from that. I will go, oh, okay, have I done anything wrong? No, I don't think I have. And I will be able to get myself out of that place and see that it's not a reflection on me. And so it's not necessarily that you're, you know, you're completely imperishable, like no one can get to you. It's just that you recalibrate very quickly and you come back and knowing that it's not about you. Again, a people pleaser, that's a massive thing of saying yes when you really mean no, or just doing things to please other people. Perfectionism as well. You see that one, last one on the right. You know, nothing is ever going to be perfect for someone who doesn't value and love themselves. If they don't see themselves as very good at something, if they, you know, it's so hard to just stop and go, this is maybe not perfect, but this is good to go. Okay, so if you find yourselves going over and over and over and stuff and finding like you're procrastinating a lot and not getting stuff out the door in your business because it has to be perfect, then maybe that's coming down a little bit around self-love. And then also the last one is around your authentic self. If you do not feel that you can be you, then it's because you don't like you. And, you put something Paul always says to people when, because if you know me and my husband, I'm obviously me, quite loud, quite quirky, and my husband is the most calm, chilled, like very methodical person, and it's the most bizarre interaction to watch together. And people always say to him, is she like this at home? And things like that. And he's like, she is like this with every single person, like no matter what. And you know, I am myself wherever I am, whether I'm talking to, you know, my I just want Barbara as a client, whether I'm talking to them on Zoom or whether I'm talking to my, like, you know, friend. Obviously I have different levels of crazy which I can tap into, but I am me no matter what. And it took me a long time to not be ashamed of who I am, not be ashamed of my loudness, not being ashamed of, like, you know, just how wild I am. But, you know, actually now the idea of being normal and ordinary literally terrifies me. And so, you know, are you able to be your authentic self? Because if you are, that's a sign that you love and respect yourself. And so I just want you to have it before we move on to what we can do about it. I want to really quickly just take a second and look at these. If you resonate with any of them, if any of those hit home, just little asterisks on it, and see if that's something you can build into improving your sense of self. Okay, this is just one quote that I really like. If your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. Doesn't matter how loving and compassionate you are to other people, if it does not start with you, if you are not in a place where you love yourself, you will always hit a ceiling. Now, what are we going to do about it? Let's focus on that. So number one, upgrade your self-narrative. That has got to be something as number one. And before I go into these I've got three main ones. I obviously not. Fiona, I need your bookkeeping. I've got three main tips for you. And these are all stuff that you can build into your everyday. So I know how busy people are. I know how little time people have for actual extra actions. So this is stuff you can feed into everything you do. So you don't need to add anything else to your day. So number one, remember the most important words you will ever say, the words you say to yourself. And I can bet you talk to yourself in ways that you'd never talk to anyone else. And things you say about your weight, or your gray hairs that are popping through, or, you know, you're the way that when you make a mistake, you know, all these things are things that we would never do to someone we love. And so I've got 3 rules to live by. So I want you to introduce repeating phrases, and this is not, you know, you don't have to sit down, put any time aside. Just as you're going through your day, I'm enough. I love myself. Has anyone heard of Marissa Peer before? Marissa Peer is a therapist. She's very English accent, very big in America, and she wrote this book called I Am Enough. And she says that all of people's problems stem from this feeling of I'm not enough. And so she writes it in lipstick on her mirror, I am enough. And I've got on my mirror, I love myself. And I'm proud of having that on my mirror. And at Christmas time, I rub off the S and it becomes, I love my elf. I think it's very, very Christmassy. And so, do that for yourself. Remember, you can take that as a little treat for you. And I want you to change how you look at yourself in the mirror. I literally, every time you look in the mirror, if you catch yourself thinking, oh God, you gained weight, or this, whatever it is, just smile. The fact you're here, the fact that your body is not in pieces, like the fact that you've got the where we are, we must be so grateful for it. Just acknowledge you are who you are and it's beautiful. So I want you to, the next time you look in the mirror, just think of that. And remember to only say to yourself the words that you would say to those you love. If you find yourself critiquing yourself, just bring your awareness to it. Bring your awareness to it and change it. I love myself. I am enough. I know my worth. All it is just rephrasing it. And over time, it will embed. My second lesson is around mental diet. Now, I don't know if you've heard this term before. Basically, our mental diet is what we consume from a mental point of view. And this is, I think of this from the point of view of the people you surround yourself with and the information you consume. Now, often before bed and first thing in the morning, what do we often do? Things like social media or the news, things like that. And that just eats away at my soul. Like I'm no good with it. And so it's really around stop spending time with people that don't value you. And I played this out on the weekend just gone. I went away with a whole group of friends, and for the first time being around them, I did not feel loved at all. And I felt the whole weekend, I was there for a day and a half in the end, and I felt awful. And I'm very much the kind of person that people can't make you feel a certain way unless you give them permission to. And so I was very aware that I was giving them permission to make me feel like this. And I only ever surround myself with people that value me and love me, and I love them. And it was a real jar to my system. And in the end, I said to my husband Paul, I said, I'm going home. I'm not staying. And so I left a day earlier, and I didn't do it in an angry way, didn't do it in a judgmental way, just said, I'm going to go home. I want to be in my own bed. See you later. And I drove home in the dark, like 7 o'clock in the evening, like 2 hours drive, feeling amazing, because I knew when I got home, I chose myself. And I thought, I want to be around people who make me feel good. I don't want to be around people who suck my energy out of me. And so you protect that because we have limited energy. And then also consume soul food. So at nighttime and morning, our brain waves are a lot slower. Okay, and the state that our brains are in at those times means that the things that we consume before bed and first thing in the morning are so much more impactful. We're so much more susceptible to those things. And so before bed, I read a really uplifting book. Thank you, Leah. And then in the morning as well, I sit up, I meditate, I do my affirmations, I journal, and I don't consume anything else. So think about your soul food before bed and in the morning. And I invite you to prune your social feed. Create a feed everywhere you go that only feeds your soul. Don't have those people on your social media that are just there sucking your energy, making you feel awful. It doesn't matter whether they're nice people or bad people. Just don't let people into your life if they don't suit your energy. Match that. If you're going to be on a high vibe, if you're going to be in a state of self-love, if you're going to grow your business, you need to match that with the vibes around you. You cannot do it otherwise. And my last one is around decision making. Now, remember, everything you do will lead into how you feel about yourself. And when we make decisions, they each either boost our sense of self or they erode our sense of self. And one question I started asking myself last year was, little things like, if I was going to buy a packet of crisps and actually crisps make me feel quite rubbish or whatever, I'd say, what would I do right now if I truly loved myself? Like, what decision would I make? And my weekend was an exact thing. What would I do right now if I truly love myself? I'd go home. You know, and what would you do right now if you truly loved yourself? No, I would say no to this client because actually they're awful. You know, like always asking yourself that question. And they're my rules. Before I say yes to anything, I ask myself this. And I don't care if I actually, my answer no is a selfish response, because actually I truly love myself. And every time you do something that goes against that, you erode your sense of self. Before I eat anything, I ask myself that question. And sometimes, yes, my mastermind group know I ate ice cream at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, and I was like, this is because I love myself. So it's not saying you only have to eat vegetables if you love yourself. It's just making sure that are your behaviors because coming from a place of self-love. And lastly, before you do anything, how you do anything is how you do everything. Remember that. How you do anything is how you do everything. And so you need to feed this behavior throughout everything you do. And I hope these 3 really quick, simple kind of changes and suggestions are stuff that you can just do daily without too much effort, rather than adding in self-care practices when you have very, very little time. And that is my question for your last breakout room, of what would you do for yourself today if you truly, truly loved yourself?
Oh, what a question.
Excellent.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rebecca. Let me just